Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is 7 o'clock p.m. on a Monday evening, Eastern Standard Time. My name is Andre Anderson. I am both host and founder of BSTL. And of course, by now, I hope you do know that BSTL stands for Building Something That Lasts. So I'm excited, and I'm going to jump right into this because I want to make sure that we have more than enough time for this conversation. I'm going to be introducing you all to, how do I put this? My dad's going to be on the podcast today. So I'm excited about that. Dad, are you there?
I am here, Andre,
Uh,
Pastor Anderson.
oh boy, lots of titles on this thing here today. So I'm so happy to have you on here, Dad. It's taken a little bit of time to get you on, but I'm excited about the conversation that we're going to be having today. So, of course, even though you're my dad and I know you, there will be some individuals on this podcast who know who you are, but then there will be others that don't. I'd love to start this conversation off with you just maybe sharing two things about yourself that you'd like the world to be able to know about you.
Well, um, Andre, I want to thank you for the privilege and opportunity to be on your podcast. I've never done this before, and I deemed it such a privilege that I somewhat even scared to come on your platform, seeing that you're so worldwide. Life is of such that you never know where you will end up. And because of that, you have to live a certain way so that at any time you are called upon, you are ready to function as though you are in whatever it is for a long time. The topic that you have given me to talk about this morning,
Well, hold on, Dad. One quick second before you jump into the topic. I want you to share with us two things about yourself, just two things, and then we're going to get into the conversation.
okay. Two things about myself.
Yeah.
I am such a private man that I don't know which two to share with you.
Well, share the stuff that's not private.
but, but anyhow, I think I'm a genuine person,
Okay.
and I also believe in me.
All right.
And it's difficult for me to sacrifice me for anything else.
All right. So those are two
So,
things.
so with the topic now.
Yeah. So let me tell you what the topic is, just in case, right? So we're on the same page. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
That's your platform,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. No.
just want to work with you.
You have to work with me. Okay. We're gonna work with
There
each
you
other.
go.
So, Dad, today we want to talk about leadership from the perspective of working outside of the box. And of
Okay.
course, on this podcast, because we always talk about leadership, one of the things that people want to know is how do you lead when you're not in the room that perhaps you are trying to engage? And I know that you have a lot of experience in different areas of your life where you can share from your wealth and well of knowledge. And so that's what we want to talk about today.
Okay. It's funny, like what you said, Andre, there. And this is far in my life. I'm going to pick this one out of the hat. And it so happened, listeners, that I was not even aware that I should be on the platform at this time. So, luckily, I deem myself an impromptu person, a person who just gets up and talk. So within me, I have a lot of stuff I can talk about, hoping that one day I'll get to say some of them. And we do know it. Today, God will allow it to be, this is the day that I will start reaching people who don't know me on Pastor Anderson's platform, in bracket, my son. But I'm going to tell you this, listeners. I will touch music because it's the heartbeat of my soul. In the church, And for those of you who are not churchy, I hope you will not turn off your device because you don't believe in church. But if you give us a listening ear, you will get the gist of what I'm talking about. Leading from being outside of the room, yet being effective. And so, my church needed somebody to do this, lead out in the choir, to be the choir leader, one who didn't know anything about music. I was totally outside of everything. And so this topic is quite relevant. And so as they debated and wanting to know who to put in this leadership role, the lot fell on me. My heart raced. Can you imagine? My heart raced. How is this organization going to put me in to lead out in a department that I hardly know anything about? I couldn't play well. I could only play with one finger or two fingers. But when they asked me, because those who asked me were in the room with themselves, I just figured that they saw something in me that would make sense. And so they asked me.
Mm-hmm.
I never hesitate, viewers. I never hesitate. I said, okay, I will. And so I took on the role of leading this choir. Then I said to myself, I have to do something so that this choir can grow. Not knowing what to do, believing in me that the folks that I will be leading know that I am not the person who should be doing this because I don't have what it takes. But by faith, I stepped in. And the first thing I did was to find a name for this group. All the years I've been around, it was a struggle for people to get attached to the choir because they were not going anywhere. And so I gave them a name. I said to myself, how am I going to be effective? Being a choir leader and to work with people that know me and stuff like that. But I did one thing. Working from outside the box, though I believe I was inside, I individually meet people one-on-one, ask them what their desire is for the choir. And so they went through one by one and they would tell me. And so I built on that. I am sure they didn't know what I was up to because I'm outside the room, outside the box. Mm. But as they listened and I asked them for their support. And don't forget, in things like these, there are always folks who would be questioning, why is this person asked to do such a position when the person doesn't have any idea about leadership? Mm. But I was positive, and I would like to say when you're positive, that's the first thing the first thing you need to be effective is to be positive. Once you walk into the room, folks should realize that you are for business, you are for progress, you are for everything that's positive. Mm-hmm. You cannot walk into a room and be intimidated by eyes or folks, even those that you know are most critical about you. Never feel intimidated. Never feel that you're nothing. Mm-hmm. Never feel that you're not wanting or wanted. Mm-hmm. You are always wanted simply because you're made by one who wants you.
Yeah.
And once you do not throw that under the table that is in the room,
Yes.
you will able to bring people together.
So I got a question, Dan. Sorry to interrupt you, but I
Yeah,
have
no,
another.
no problem, man. You're helping me to pass the time.
So, Dad, this idea about having a sense of who you are, as one who came from a different country, right? And I always brag on the podcast about my parents being from Jamaica, my Caribbean roots. How important for you, or even as a leader, you as a leader, how important is it to have a strong sense of self? And where do you get your sense of self from? Where does that come from?
Myself, that kind of a strong desire came from being from rejection.
Okay.
As all my siblings, in our culture, we talk about there's one who is always seen as the black sheep.
Okay.
And I saw myself as that black sheep within the family amongst my siblings.
Okay.
I was never right. I
Mm,
was always wrong.
okay.
To those who were older, they were the ones that always, as it were, enslaved me. If you
Mm-hmm.
can believe that. Do this, do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't complain. The ones who were younger, I could not get them to do anything because to the younger ones, they saw me as the one who should be protecting them. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like Joseph in my estimation.
Okay.
I don't know if I answer your question.
Yeah, you have. And by the way, Joseph, and we've never had this conversation before for those that are listening, Joseph is actually my favorite character in the Bible also, the irony of it all, right?
Yeah?
Yeah, no,
No wonder some things are so inherent.
yeah. No, absolutely, Dad. Because the reality is that as leaders who are leading from outside of the box, sometimes they don't dig deep. We don't dig deep and ask ourselves, how is it or why is it that we have a drive, a desire to make a difference, a desire to make changes, and
Okay.
yeah, all of that stuff. Go ahead.
No, the thing that motivates people is when they do not surrender themselves to somebody else or something else.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the strength comes from.
Yeah.
Once you give up on you, then you lose everything that is in front of you that is outside the room.
Yeah.
Because you only gather in the room to get information how to function when you get outside.
Right.
Because if everybody stays in the room, or
Yeah.
everything that is being discussed in a room is left in the room,
Yeah.
then you don't have anything to work with when you get outside of the room.
Yeah. And you know, Dad, I think it's cool the perspective you have. Because the room is only a base, like military language. It really is. It's a base. And sometimes, because we're talking about leading from outside of the room, sometimes the room is far too powerful in terms of its impact on leaders. So people fight to get into the room, not recognizing that some of the greatest influencers, and I know we're talking about the choir and we're talking about music, some of the people who are making the greatest changes, they may never be in the room, but it doesn't mean that their voice is not in the room. So how have you been able to maintain your voice then, right? So we're pivoting a little bit, we're moving beyond the music, and we're now moving in the direction, for those that are leading who are like, oh, what if I never get into the room? Is being in the room important or having your voice in the room? Kind
Uh,
of.
no, the thing, you don't have to be in the room. But once you associate with people who belong in the room, you are impacting the room, though you are not in it.
Ah, nice.
Because people are always feeding on what you are telling them,
Mm-hmm.
though they may not tell you.
Right.
So that's why many people who have gone on before develop so many good things and they never get credit for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because people who are able to build on stuff, they gather their information and then they build on it and then it becomes theirs
Mm-hmm.
rather than yours. But if you are not a selfish person, if you're a person who like to share, you don't care about who built and what you you were able to present or offer. You care more about people gaining from what you offer,
You know,
whether it register against your name or not.
Dad. Again, this podcast, this conversation, it's an eye opener, and maybe I'm listening to where I'm getting some of the concepts and principles that I too have applied to my world of leadership. And it's interesting that you should say this because we had a conversation on the podcast not too long ago about this idea of credit, the podium, like when you watch the Olympics, there's always one, two, three, and one is a little bit higher than the other. I think you raise a great point when you say that as long as what you hope to see happens, it doesn't matter whether or not people know that the idea or the concept comes from you. I like that a lot.
Yeah, thank you much. And the world has lost a lot because of that. People are afraid to make suggestions
Hmm.
because they figure other people are going to strive and grow on it and become rich and so forth. But imagine if I were actually, I know we had segue from music.
Yeah, we can go back. We can go back to it. We don't.
We can go back. I
Yeah,
hope
we
you
can.
remember to bring me back
Yeah,
there.
I will.
Yeah, because my mind is of such, and the amount of things that I have in my mind. Maybe if I were to meet with people who want to unravel my mind and to see what's in there, I just say to myself without boasting, I think so much is in in my head is more than what is in any room.
Yeah.
you know, but be that as it may, Andre, the
Hmm.
thing when selflessness is at the forefront of your leading,
Yes.
you don't care about what people may say
Hmm.
or do
Or who gets the credit?
or who gets the credit. Once what you do is the world is benefiting from it in a positive way,
Hmm.
that's leadership.
Yes.
That's leadership.
Yes.
You don't lead to get the credit.
Right.
You lead because you want the world to be better.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, Dad, because, the reality is self-serving leaders will only thrive for a season. But once people figure out that the motive to which they are driven by is self-aggrandization, uh, uh, I think that ultimately, until people give up self and the podium and the desire to be heard or seen so that they can make a name for themselves, once that is completely dissolved, dropped off, then that's where leading from outside of the box becomes essential.
Yes, yes, I agree with that. And not because you're my son and stuff like that, but I get teary when I realize this platform that you are setting up because in me, I always see you like Solomon
Oh, all
and
right.
see myself like David.
Okay. Okay.
And because of that, your mother and me, we made sure that we did everything we could so that you and your siblings could get an education.
Yeah.
And the reason I never felt that I did too much on that side
Mm-hmm.
because I know that I believe, I don't know, I believe that what is within me,
Mm-hmm.
if my children, which you are one of them, were
Mm-hmm.
to listen and get yourself educated and stuff like that.
Yes.
Somewhat the dream that is in me, though I never say them to you guys as
Mm-hmm.
children,
Yes.
but your ability to observe how we function.
Yeah.
You are feeding on the invisible that is now making you who you are.
Yeah. Dad, I should say this. And I tell people this all the time, maybe not necessarily on the podcast, but in real life when I speak to people, I tell them all the time that if you had the opportunities that both you and Mom gave to us, then I am certain that you would have had much more than what I've been able to accomplish. So, they say that it's important to give people flowers while they are alive, right? And the reality is that a lot of what I have been able to accomplish in my many years in different spaces of leadership come on the heels of traveling around with you. So maybe I'll tell them this on the podcast. My dad at a young age, he used to make bread like from scratch, and he still knows how to do it. And we used to drive around the city of Toronto dropping off bread to various people's homes. We also watched him transition from bread to even construction. I had opportunities to watch how he would work with people, for people, and then at the later side of life, before he would have retired, I watched him also start his own business and build something that lasts. That's the podcast, but in part, the inspiration comes from my father, Dad. So, when I see you talking about leading from outside of the box, it is true that I have been able to get into rooms because I have listened to a lot of the counsel that you gave, not just to me, but to Janice and Marcia. And of course, Mom is always there. Whatever you didn't say, she would always back it up in a different kind of way. But that's the thing, as you talk about, David to Solomon. Sure, you can be David and I can be Solomon, but the reality is that without David, there is no Solomon. So I thank you. You may not have gotten the formal education that we got as kids, but definitely you are one of the wisest people that I know, period. And
Wow.
I just need to say that out loud.
Oh, don't say that, man. You're making me teary.
Well, no. We don't have time. We don't have time for tears because this is a podcast.
I know, but
Yeah,
people ought to know how you feel about an honest comment,
yeah.
and how you appreciate it, so that your listeners won't mind. I don't think they will.
No, they won't mind.
They won't mind.
So I got one more question then, Dad, for you. So I'm hearing you talking about these one-on-one conversations, right, and the value of them because it gives you a sense of how people are processing and thinking in the room. Maybe mentorship. Can we pivot here? How important is it to mentor the next generation? How are you doing that as you are leaving your sentences, your thought, your wisdom with people? How important is mentorship in this leading from outside of the box?
Oh, good question. Good question. Although that's the one we've been talking about. Now we are getting back to where we started, as it were.
Yeah.
When it comes to young people growing up, I don't really go to them and counsel them. I behave like them. I be kiddie, if you please. The little kids, I behave like a little child to them. I say something that is childish, and the age group all the way up. That's how I function. I go on and I would just slap the young guys in their early teens on their thigh and say, "Grow up and become a man, so we can do things together." And they would just laugh. And those little things, the next week when I see them, they come up and shake my hand without even having a conversation with them. Just
Right.
do stuff that they can connect with.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing so, I'm in the church for all these years, and not a young person grew up in the church while I'm there had ever been disrespectful to me.
Mm-hmm.
And although I don't get the mic, or though I don't get the platform, sometimes I believe I'm more effective more than many people who stand on the pulpit.
Mm-hmm.
So leadership and to build from outside the box
Mm-hmm.
is not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I was leading, when they asked me to do the choir and stuff like that, and
Mm-hmm.
we wanted some robes for the choir.
Yeah, I remember.
You remember, right?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, yeah, I do.
I want some robes, and when I meet with the group, I said we need some robes
Mm-hmm.
because we are functioning based on what we wear.
Mm-hmm.
We had some old gowns.
Yeah.
So we were just singing because the gowns we were wearing.
Yeah.
So I said, no, when you get something new and you feel fresh and so forth, it gives you the energy to want to live up to how you carry yourself.
Yes.
So, so Andre, I can't forget, man. When I bring that idea, how are you gonna get the gun? The church not gonna give you money. I said, I'm not asking about what the church will give me. I
That's
just
right.
want you to agree with me that we need the gun. That's all I'm asking.
That's right.
And so they voted it. And when they voted it, then they asked me, how are you going to get the money? Because the church don't have money.
Yeah.
I say, I've been hearing that ever since I come to this church, that they don't have money to give the gun. But I'm going to step up and we're going to get the guns.
Right.
Yeah, and so, yes, I worked on that idea. And being able to show to Andre, I think it's good to throw that in so your listeners can know where I'm coming
about that.
from.
Yeah. You used to work for Tip
man.
Top. Yes, I didn't forget that.
I know you didn't forget, but
no, we're mentioning it here. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, when I told them and they agreed, I went home. I said, what idea can I come up with to fundraise?
Sure.
And he said, just draw a picture of a wide skirt, a long hanging wide skirt,
Yeah.
like a flare.
Sure, yeah.
And then you put some dots on it and say each dot represent $1 or $2, And so I drew it up. And when I drew it up, man, I photocopied this stuff.
Yes.
And took it I got them to photocopy it, somebody in the office to photocopy it for me. And I took it at my next practice session.
Yes.
And I stood up and I said, this is how we are going to have money.
Yes.
I said, I'm asking you to go to your friends at work everywhere and just ask them for money to get some guns for your choir.
Yes.
And everybody gravitated to the idea.
Yeah.
Without hesitation, they took the stuff. And everybody goes, good idea, good idea. I sat there, I said, well, thank the Lord.
Yes.
I look in myself, and because I didn't give up on me, then the value of me start coming to the forefront.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I said, I don't know how much it's going to cost.
Right.
But what I'm going to ask is that the person who was the overall person that represent the music department, I said, I'm putting a request for $2,000.
Yeah.
And the individual said to me, oh my goodness, the church don't have money. I said, $2,000. And said, okay, I will.
Yes.
And then to make it interesting.
Yes.
So what I did before I do all of that, all the people who are in the room as leaders, I go around with them one by one, outside of the room, although I was a part of the room.
Yes.
But after church services, after when we have socials or so, I'll go to them and talk to them and say, what do you think about the gowns that we are wearing as a church choir? They're old, eh?
Yes.
They don't look nice at all, man. We are just singing like the old gowns, one by one.
Yes.
And when I got them to agree that the gowns need changing,
yes,
I said when they meet to discuss it, it should pass.
Yeah.
Because they cannot go in the room after they say yes to me and say, no, we don't need it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm telling you the truth, man. Something had happened and I was not able to be in the room when they were discussing the plan.
Yes.
I was out of town.
Yes.
So I asked the leader, I said, introduce the idea and let them know, blah, blah. And the person said to me, no, I can't do that, man, because they're going to tell me no. I said, they won't, because I know it's going to pass. And reluctantly,
yes,
it was introduced by the leader.
Yes.
And when I came back, there was a big smile.
Yeah.
How did you know? I said, I did my work
Yes.
before I asked.
Yes.
So you don't have to be in the room,
Yeah.
but all you do, you make sure you work with the people who are always in the room.
Yes.
And when they get in the room and
Yes.
they're discussing what you want,
Yes.
they can't vote against it because
That's right.
they somewhat agree with you before they go in the room. That is essential.
Yeah.
So this is how I think leaders can be effective,
Yes.
even though they're not in the room.
So, Dad, we have talked about a lot of stuff. By the way, this is one of the best interviews, and I'm glad that I coached
Come on,
you.
don't say that, man. Don't allow my head to grow.
No, it's okay. But it's been a very great, good conversation that we've had. But I would love for you to maybe summarize. Tell us what the main thing is that you would like for us to take away from this conversation for those who are trying to consolidate everything that has been said. What is it that you want us to know as we wrap up our conversation today?
Okay, thank you much. As one who had hardly go to any classroom growing up, I always believe in myself.
Yeah.
And what I would like to leave with your listeners
Yes.
is that you are the most important, if I may use the word commodity, because I'm lack of word,
No, that's a good word. Yes.
in the world.
Yeah.
There's nobody like you
Yeah.
who had gone on before.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody like you living as you are now living.
Yes.
And there won't be anybody
Mm-hmm.
after you who would be exactly like you.
Yeah.
So once you believe in yourself, once you believe in yourself and know that you are genuine about yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you are sharing yourself genuinely.
Yes.
That's what you should care about.
Mm.
Sometimes we are too sideways because of what people may say.
Yeah.
But don't forget that people will always turn your attention to something else
Yes.
because what they see in you are not wanting to tell you. They don't
Yes.
want you to get there.
Mm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you are not careful, you
Yeah.
will lose your way because of that.
Wow.
So, Andre,
Yeah.
I am an impromptu minded person.
Yes.
When you called me, I was not even prepared for this thing. I had no notes that I'm looking at.
That's okay.
But
Neither did Joseph.
uh, but through my life, you know what I told an educator one time?
All right, I'm listening.
This was funny, man. I know the time is up, but let me tell you,
Yeah.
I went up on the rostrum one day. I think it was funeral, and I just walk up with my two hands, nothing in my hand, no cell phone to read anything from, and I stood there, and it was a funeral, and a lot of noted people were in the room.
Yes.
And when I talk, and then when I talk and talk and talk, and people applaud,
Mm-hmm.
funeral.
Yeah.
And when I walk down the aisle, this person chased me down
Yeah.
and said to me, "How do you do that?"
Yeah.
For your listeners, let me say this:
Yes.
the way to do things, instead of feast your mind on negative things,
Yes.
as you work, make a speech.
Yes.
Always make speeches to yourself.
Yeah. Talk to yourself.
Talk to yourself.
Yeah.
Make a speech in where the president of the United States is in the room,
Yes.
although he's not there.
Yes.
And do that through your life.
Yes.
And if it happened that the president of the United States should be in the room because you've been pondering what to say about the president,
Yes.
it will just come easy. It's easy.
Yeah. Look, Dad, I want to thank you for coming on, and I'm glad that as you are an impromptu,
Yeah.
speaker, all of us have become that as your children, and
Wow.
I think that it's really cool that we are able to do this at this time Because I think what I'm hearing you say out of this conversation is that in order to build something that lasts, you have to constantly be building you. And
Yeah, you.
regardless of what the opposition may be, the
Hmm.
challenges, the education, the support of people or lack thereof, it doesn't change what it is that God is trying to do in your life.
Not at all.
And so, to those of you that have been listening to this podcast, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this. Today, I'm so privileged. A lot of sons, children don't get to do this with their dads. And I'm glad that I still have a dad that I'm able to do this type of conversation with. Because part of the reason why we have this platform is because this is a long time coming. And you may hear my voice frequently, but you're also hearing my father's voice as well. So thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, build something that lasts. Build yourself and watch what's going to happen. You may never get into the room, but your voice may precede you. Take care. Until next time. Bye.